Hello, welcome to the Mark Janot Show, the cybersecurity show. In this video, let's talk about PS5 jailbreaking. And, I'm going to give you some visuals so you can see how it looks while talking about it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. We are going dark. So the PS5 jailbreak allows users to run homebrew and unauthorized software on their PlayStation 5 console. So some key points to take note of is the firmware version supported, right? The current PS5 jailbreak works on firmware versions 3.00 to 4.51. Consoles on higher firmware cannot be jailbroken yet. Jailbreak process, right? That was the firmware version supported. Now let's get into the jailbreak process because, let's talk about how you actually do it. So you're going to want to disable automatic system updates on the PS5 to prevent updating to an unjailbreakable firmware. Next, you're going to want to access an exploit, right? Access an exploit website through a convoluted method involving the PS5's user guide and redirects since there is no browser app. Then you're going to want to run the kernel exploit on the website to gain code execution on the PS5. And then you're going to want to install a homebrew enabler payload like the itehen to enable running homebrew apps. So some of the jailbreak benefits: you can run homebrew apps and unauthorized software, you can install game backups and mods, you can access the PS5 debug menu for advanced tweaks, and then here are some precautions though, because this is not all good, right? Jailbreaking is not 100% reliable and may fail or crash the console. So if your console is expensive, you're gonna want to think twice if you really want to do this, right? And Sony could potentially ban jailbroken consoles from online services. It's recommended to block system updates by changing DNS settings to prevent updating past 4.51. The jailbreak scene is actively developing tools like backup managers like the items flow, offline hosting methods using ESP chips, and porting existing PS4 homebrew to the PS5. Before I proceed, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and the like button. Please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and the like button right now. All right, hit that button. Also hit the notification bell so you know when I am going, when I release videos and I'm going online. And also, just to give you a little, I will be going live on Wednesdays every night or every week, right? Every week I'll be going live on Wednesdays from 9 to 10. Now, can you play online games after jailbreaking your PS5? The answer to that is no. You cannot play online multiplayer games after jailbreaking your PS5. Jailbreaking the PS5 will prevent you from connecting to the PlayStation Network and accessing online features of games. Sony's security measures detect modified or jailbroken consoles and block them from accessing PSN services like online multiplayer to protect the integrity of the network. Even if you could initially connect after jailbreaking, Sony could potentially ban your console's PSN access permanently once they identify it as jailbroken. To play online multiplayer games legitimately, you would need to restore your PS5 to an official Sony firmware by performing a factory reset and updating to the latest system software version. This would remove all traces of the jailbreak, but you would also lose the ability to run homebrew and unauthorized software. The only way to use a jailbroken PS5 for online multiplayer would be through private servers or modded clients, which goes against the terms of service and could result in bans from game developers as well. It's generally recommended to have a separate console for online play and another for jailbreaking/homebrew if you want access to both functionalities. From a cybersecurity perspective, why do you think that is the case? Please let me know in the comment section below. So let's talk about what are the best applications to install on the your jailbroken PS5. So the game backup and management, right? There is what is called the items flow. Remember the items flow? And this is one of the most useful apps that allows you to back up and manage your PS5 game library, including creating backups of physical disc games. It supports multi-disc games and updates. Next, you have the homebrew apps and emulators. You have the All-Rick emulator, and it allows running emulators for various retro consoles like the PlayStation, Nintendo, Sega, and the on the PS5. Then you have the Linux loader that enables booting from a full Linux distribution on the PS5 for running Linux apps and programs. And then you have the RetroArch, right, which is a popular all-in-one emulator front end that brings classic gaming to the PS5. Now, there is the utilities and tweaks, right? The PS5 debug menu grants access to the PS5's debug menu for advanced system tweaks and modifications. You also have the remote package installer, and that allows installing games, apps, and packages remotely from a computer on the same network without needing a USB drive. Then you have the kernel payload manager, right? You have apps like Etahen that enable running homebrew by loading custom kernel payloads on the PS5. You have restoring removed content, and that's the PT, also known as the playable teaser. The infamous canceled Silent Hill demo can be reinstalled on a jailbroken PS5 as demonstrated by modders. So it's also important to note that while jailbreaking allows installing unofficial software, it violates Sony's terms of service and could potentially lead to console bans from online services. So you're gonna want to proceed, at your own risk on that perspective. So now that we've covered that, let's talk about what are the performance differences between the emulators on a jailbroken PS5. So the performance of emulators on a jailbroken PS5 will be limited compared to native PS5 games and apps due to the PS5's CPU being underpowered for emulation. The PS5 CPU is based on the Zen 2 architecture, which isn't ideal for emulators like the RPC S3 for PS3 games. Sony also cut down the vector units and L3 cache compared to a regular Zen 2 CPU, further reducing performance. The PS5 CPU is estimated to perform around the level of a Ryzen 2600 or 1600 AF, putting it in the D tier for emulation performances. It will struggle to run PS3 games at a playable level in RPC S3. So running Linux or Windows on the PS5 to host emulators will be very taxing on the CPU compared to the lightweight PS5 OS, further reducing performance headroom. Compiling shaders in emulators can even cause the PS5 to overheat and shut down in some cases, requiring system modifications to prevent this. However, the PS5 should still be able to run many classic emulators well. Emulators for systems like the PS1 and the N64, the GameCube, Dreamcast, DS, and GBA should run smoothly on the PS5 hardware using the Ulrich emulator collection. Then you have the RetroArch, right? That's the popular multi-system emulator front end that has been ported to the PS5, and then you have the PS5's SSD and GPU that can provide enhancements like upscaling and anti-aliasing to improve the visuals of emulated games compared to original hardware. Okay, so that's in that regard. It is also important to note that when you do things like jailbreaking PS5 and you're not attached to some of the the latest updates and the vulnerabilities, you are also creating an opportunity for a hacker to get to you, right? So from a cybersecurity perspective, be very careful when you're doing stuff like this, because Sony, right, in order for us to play games, we enter a lot of our information. It could be our names, our address, our credit card information, all of that when it comes to putting setting up our PS5. So our PS5 or PS4 rather, whichever one you want to say, it houses critical data of ours that can be extremely attractive for hackers. So you want to be very careful when you're doing certain things to err on the side of caution and practice the safest cybersecurity posture as possible. So that's what I have for you today. Please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and the like button. Please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and the like button. Now, before after you hit that subscribe and like button and before you leave, let me know what is the best way to practice cybersecurity hygiene safely while doing a PS5 jailbreak. I want to know your opinion and thoughts on that. Stay safe. All right, see you in the next video.